Ahead tonight, immigration highlights day 2 of the EU summit in Brussels.
The National Security Minister setting the record straight on the current crime numbers.
And in sports, Bahamian boxers get ready for next month's Pan Am Games. The Bahamas tonight, the National Report starts now.
Now in HD. ZNS Network presents The Bahamas Tonight. This portion of the news brought to you by BTC Every Day.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Charisma Robinson.
And I'm Chris Saunders. Thank you so much for joining us. The EU CELAC Summit, which featured leaders from the European Union and Latin America, ended in Brussels today, with government heads deepening relations in a number of areas, among them illegal migration. Our Opal Roach spoke with the Prime Minister and Minister of Foreign Affairs about their discussions with the international community. She tells us tonight that the Bahamas is not alone in its fight.
As the Bahamas tightens its belt on illegal migration, the European Union is doing the same. Thousands cross the Mediterranean in flimsy boats in a bid to get to European countries, putting a strain on the public purse. And with a number of boating accidents involving migrants taking place in Europe, many have been taken before the courts. Noting the same in the Bahamas, Immigration Minister, the Honorable Fred Mitchell, says the law must now take its course. But right now, the Bahamas sits around the table with the European Union at the summit in Brussels, and they are discussing ways to crack down on illegal migration.
People are going to be charged, and there are new penalties. It's now 5 years or $10,000 fine. So, the country really means business on this. You're going to see more aggressive actions being taken.
Some have painted a negative picture about the Bahamas' new immigration policy, but Mitchell explained that those who want to come to the islands must simply follow the proper procedures.
Migration to the Bahamas is not a difficult thing to do lawfully, so there's no reason to migrate to the Bahamas unlawfully. And what we mean to stop is unlawful migration. Where there's a legitimate need for labor skills, fine, there's a process to go through to do that. But you see that this is becoming ever more dangerous and fractious.
And despite some negative press, Mitchell says many in the international community understand and support the government's position.
What we say is that it is unsustainable for for our country to be awash with people who have no documentation being in our country. It is a threat to our national security. It's a threat to our cultural identity. And Bahamians have had enough of it, and they want a line drawn in the sand on it.
Prime Minister, the Right Honorable Perry Christie, also weighed in on the matter.
When the minister speaks of Bahamians, he's even including those who have acquired citizenship and who understand what we're doing, because by and large they have said to us on a number of occasions they understand, and they feel that we just simply must continue to explain what we're doing so people can understand it.
Now, already for the year, thousands of illegal immigrants have made their way to Europe, and in the Bahamas, hundreds have flocked to our shores. Covering the EU CELAC Summit in Brussels, I'm Opal Roach, ZNS Network News.
All right, Opal, thanks a lot. Now, tomorrow, the Prime Minister and his delegation will head to Switzerland to attend the opening of the Bahamas' permanent mission to the United Nations and other organizations in Geneva.
Now to our continued coverage of the 2015-2016 budget debate in the House of Assembly. Minister of National Security, the Honorable Dr. Bernard Nottage, clearing up reports made in the local dailies this morning that indicated he was wrong on the crime figures provided in the House of Assembly yesterday. Minister Nottage maintains he was listing figures released in 2011.
But yesterday, when I said that there were more murders in 2011, I was speaking about the whole year 2011 as compared with the annual figures under the government, the present government, since we have been the government on this occasion. And I don't know whether I didn't express myself sufficiently for that to be understood, but that is what I meant. I did not mean that there were more murders in 2011 at this time of the year than there is now. And so I would like to correct that perception. I'm not sure that that this was understood, and I don't attribute anything to anyone except that I would like, for the record, to properly reflect what it was I said and what I meant.
Education Minister the Honorable Jerome Fitzgerald recognized in his budget contribution today that while challenges in education remain, government is committed to double its investment in education. He
confirmed that $5.6 million in back pay has already been paid to teachers. $5 million was spent on upgrading computer facilities in schools, and he estimated another $5 million spent on the Marjorie Davis School for Special Needs Students and the Star Academy for students with behavioral issues.
But he lamented about the increase in violence among school students, which he said has been magnified through social media. He cited the most recent story of a female student who reportedly had part of her ear bitten off in a fight with other students.
We see the videos, particularly even when kids, particularly when they leave school and at the bus stops or in the road. We have to put police now at the bus stops outside the schools, and it's just these, these stem from things that happen in their community and come into the schools. And so we have to continue to talk about anger management, talk about conflict resolution. And we know that there are some kids who fall afoul of the law and they have trouble in school. And so we've agreed through the approval of the Cabinet and the Ministry of Finance to rent the former Bahamas Academy on Wolf Road, convert that. We're going to do quite a bit of work there this summer, so that we can use that as part of our overall plan for having a holistic approach for these kids who normally either drop out or fall through the cracks.
The Education Minister added that by the end of this year, legislation will be presented to the House of Assembly to transition the College of the Bahamas to the University of the Bahamas. It's all a part of the shared vision for Education 2030. And as the Ministry of Education moves ahead with the National High School Diploma Program, Minister Fitzgerald believes there are a few areas of concern among students.
And I am alarmed by a few points. The first point I am alarmed at, Mr. Speaker, is those kids who are now in grade 10 who do not have the requisite BJCs, Mr. Speaker. In every high school throughout the country, Mr. Speaker, we have provided for them to have after-school classes all year. And we are disappointed, Mr. Speaker, that not all of them took advantage of it, Mr. Speaker. Not all of them took advantage of it, Mr. Speaker. So, Mr. Speaker, we have to work closer with them and their parents to understand and explain to them the importance of it, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I also looked at the data to see the on-time attendance for those in grade 10, Mr. Speaker. And I can tell you, Mr. Speaker, plenty of them fallen way behind, Mr. Speaker.
By the stroke of a brush, 3 famous artists in the Bahamas are creating a new phenomenon. I'm Clint Watson. I'll tell you all about it coming up in the Bahamas tonight.
Guess who's coming to town this weekend? Find out coming up in the Bahamas tonight.
This portion of the news is brought to you by the new Shell & Letty, designed for extra miles.